topic. One second. I really don't have to sneeze. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. Alright, so consistency is the name of the
Hold on.
There we go, it's beautiful.
Hold on, David Goggins. Give me a second. I gotta put the
He's
camera
gonna
back
carry the Okay. Hey vlog. Alright, so yeah, it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. No idea comes fully fleshed out. Alright? Every single thing starts very primitively. I know Mark Zuckerberg said something along the lines of just that. Nothing comes out fully fleshed. Everything starts as an idea or a piece of something, a piece of what it is. You know, nothing that we know to be great that is today started that way. You know, it was built up to that point through constant innovation and consistency of the craft. It was people who cared about it and were passionate about it, no matter what it was, and worked to build on it. You know what I mean? So consistency really is the name of the game. And it's very easy to get roped up in analysis paralysis, where you're constantly hyper-fixating on every little detail that pertains to whatever venture it is you're trying to start. If you're trying to start a new business, or if you're trying to start a new channel, or anything of an entrepreneurial nature, if you're trying to start a new venture, it's very easy to get roped up in analysis paralysis and get so wound up in your own subconscious of what ifs and it could be better that you never end up doing. You never end up fulfilling that potential because you eventually bring your self-esteem down. You bring that idea down mentally of your own volition. You know what I mean? The same way that you can kill a big dream with a small mind, I think your own mind can act in that exact same way if you allow it. You know what I mean? Naturally, they say that if you lack confidence, build evidence. So with something pertaining to a new venture that you're trying to start, you lack the evidence that it's going to work. You don't know. It's uncertain, right? It's a complete uncertainty. But that's the effort of making a venture. Without that evidence behind it, there's no confidence. And the problem comes whenever you dwell upon it and you constantly fester and you think about it, and what ifs. Once you start laying that groundwork, no matter how rocky or how rough it is at the start, you have something to show for it. No matter how minimal, no matter how crude or primitive it is, it's still there. It's a work in progress, but now there's a starting point. It's not just a figment of your imagination. It's not just a what-if idea. It's there. And it's obviously not in the position you want it to be. You know what I mean? It's not this fully fleshed out idea that you have yet, but you have a starting point. You know what I mean? Even just throwing a video together, creating that website, doing whatever it is that you know to be the start of that work. You know what I mean? And in the same way that negativity can snowball, as can productivity. And a big reason why I think a lot of people don't utilize it in the same way is because there's challenge when it comes to productivity. With negativity, anyone can be negative. It takes no skill to be negative. All you have to do is think pessimistically about whatever it is. And misery loves company. So anyone you bring that to will curate upon it. As opposed to productivity, especially if it's in a new venture that you've never tried before, that you have never mastered the vertical of, it's completely foreign to you. It's a complete mystery. So the challenge comes from figuring it out. You know what I mean? But that's the beauty behind it. Once you start figuring out those little crumbs, those little pieces of the puzzle, it starts coming together very slowly, especially at the start, very slowly, but surely. You know what I mean? And that is that evidence that you're building. And whenever you keep building upon that evidence, that's when it starts to snowball. You know, it feels like such a struggle at first until you get it going, until you stay consistent with it, until you see something come about. You know, even if you're not reaping the fruit of your labor yet, you're seeing what it's blossoming into. You know what I mean? And that's where a lot of times the passion stems from, is from the process, is from the love of creating. You know, and that's why to tie it in with everyone who's created something beautiful and something great, something spectacular, looking at Steve Jobs, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, Mr. Beast, anyone who's done something absolutely amazing and created an absolute spectacle of human nature, loved what they did. And they didn't just love the idea of the product at the end, they loved the process. They loved every bit of it. And they knew that there were pits, you know, there were leaps and there were valleys. They knew that. They knew that going in, and they learned to deal with it, every single one of it, because at the end of the day, the passion is what drove them. Not that that's what is the starting point, but that's what it builds into because of the consistency. What was the point?
So, I mean, where is this coming from?
Just
The idea of consistency, like...
Yeah, so consistency...
Where is it coming from for you, like, from your standpoint? Why talk about it?
Because, well, okay, from personal experience, I've taken multiple attempts at ventures, you know, as it pertains to, like, YouTube or even setting up, like, a Shopify store or something like that. I've taken multiple attempts of ventures, you know, seeing evidence from people around me, whether it be through social media, whether it be my father even. You know, my father has an online business, and that's something that really inspired me and influenced me. So, you know, I attempted creating it myself. But the thing is, whenever you do it from that standpoint, you know, they say comparison is the thief of joy. You know what I mean? And it really rings true in that same aspect. When you're trying to start something new, you're trying to start a new venture, it's very easy to compare yourself to the end product or the current product of somebody who's been doing it for however long. You know, they've been consistent with it for well over a decade. They've put the time in, and they've figured out what works and what doesn't. You know what I mean? They've learned from all their mistakes, which is necessary in building anything. You know what I mean? But comparing the starting point of wherever you're starting to that end product or that current product that they're at, it's very easy to pertain a negative bias towards it. It's like, they did it, I'm never going to get there. You know what I mean? Thinking, because you're comparing what you have now and the fact that you don't really know anything. You don't have the knowledge or the know-how behind what they did or what you can do, because whatever it is that they did is not what you're doing, right? It doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter what they did. The exact blueprint is not going to be the same, you know what I mean? Especially as it pertains to you. You're going to develop different interests, different passions if you make it work and you know, grow to create whatever it is that you're trying to create. So, viewing it from an independent nature of your own volition builds that passion, builds the desire, and it detracts from that comparison, which again is the thief of joy. You know, it detracts from that negative perception towards your own creation or soon-to-be creation or what-if creation. You know what I mean? And I think that's also a big viewpoint from kind of outsiders looking in, is that either it's never worked before, nobody's ever done it, so what makes you think you can do it? Or the people that have done it, they just got lucky, or they just got this, or they just got that, right? Like, it was an anomaly that they did it, so there's no way you're going to do it. You know what I mean? And it's very easy to adopt those beliefs, is what I'm saying. And even if it's not even coming from anybody, and it's just within you, it's easy to develop those beliefs, those pessimistic beliefs. So to put essentially the pen to the paper and start creating that evidence. is far more important than dwelling on it. Analysis paralysis. So. What's your standpoint on analysis paralysis?
I just wanted, I want to know how you're personalizing it to yourself, I guess. Like, where are you applying this to, like, your everyday life? Are you talking about gym? Are you talking about school, work? Just, like, feel better about yourself. Like, the consistency to better your everyday life is that where you're applying this to? Like, where does this go? I guess this
I think it can be attributed to like
just about anything.
just about anything. I think it's a mindset, you know what I mean? I think, but again, where you lack confidence, you need to build confidence, and I think that confidence protrudes any specific thing. You know what I mean? It kind of it develops in every aspect. You know, like as you do is as you are, right? So the things that you do make up who you are. You make up how you act. You make up your personality essentially. So. I mean, yeah, even speaking from personal experience, even fitness and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like throughout my fitness journey, I heard left and right, like, why do you care about protein intake? Why do you care about going to the gym every day? Why do you care about, eating a certain amount of calories a day? Like, why do you care? Like, it's not that, what is one day gonna do? What is this gonna do? But it's that internal belief that keeps you going. And then, months down the road, years down the road, you look back, or you look at, what you've created because you stayed consistent within yourself, because you stayed true to yourself, and you didn't let other people's perceptions or say be your voice. You stayed true to yourself and you kept your own voice. And it pays dividends, you know what I mean? Just because somebody is ignorant to what it can create doesn't mean it's not going to create it, you know what I mean? Especially if you believe in something, you believe in it. That's your vision, dude. Do it. You know what I mean? Like, don't let anybody dim your light. Tyler the Creator said that. No, actually his mom said that.
His mom did?
Yeah. Don't ever dim your light for nobody. But like really though, don't ever dim your light for anybody. If anybody tries to shit on your dreams or shit on your goals or what you're trying to accomplish, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, fuck them. Genuinely. Like, I mean, don't
fuck them.
Yeah, don't fuck them. But like, everyone has a voice. Everyone. Doesn't matter what they amount to in life. Doesn't matter where their background is, where they come from. Everyone has a voice. Just remember that. You know what I mean? Don't let anybody dim your light. If somebody doesn't support you or doesn't, believe in you, and it's something that you truly believe that can come into fruition, then fuck it. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? Because it's not just a belief. It's right? So then make it happen. But that starts by putting that pen to the paper and building that evidence.
What have you seen in your life, I guess, that's tried to build that, I guess that principle, that way of thinking, but hasn't been able to? Because I feel like a lot of people, I try to put that idea into their head of that way of thinking, and just can't apply it, really can't do it. But I get why. I feel like for some people it feels like natural, like it comes on its own, and then some other people, they can't even get past the first step, or they'll maybe go 2 steps forward and 5 back.
You're a product of the way that you do it. You're a product of your circumstance. I don't want to say your circumstance because I don't think your circumstance defines you. But you are a product of your environment. You know what I mean? And whether you realize it or not, the environment that you come from, especially as it pertains to like family life and friends that grow up about you and everything like that, and the programming and the content you take in, which in this day and age is completely different from what it was. Like when we were kids, even it was like movies and shows and stuff. Now it's like fucking videos, like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Like anybody can make content. Anybody can influence you. You know what I mean? Everyone who makes content is an influencer. Even though that term is such a cliche at this point, it's true. And it's programming. You know what I mean? Like, but the point I'm trying to make is that you're a product of your environment. And a lot of people come from either, well, traditional backgrounds in a sense, right? They come from backgrounds of, especially like older generations, they come from this background where the way to make it was to get on a TV show or to have your CD published by a label company. That's the only way to do it, is to be greenlit by one of these big corporations who approve you becoming who you want to be. And anything else below that, it's a fallacy. It's not possible. Which, I mean, it's an idea kind of built by these big corporations that were at the top. And, you know, the idea of independent media was formed. And now that it's around, I think a lot of people are becoming very aware of it. But a lot of people are also still struggling with the concept of it being a reality and it being as viable of a means of livelihood at this point, you know what I mean? So I think it's ignorance, but I think it's also, where you don't want to admit it, because you've lived your whole life under this impression and this pretense of it's not possible. So I picked up a 9-to-5. I've been working a 9-to-5 for 30 years, making ends meet, because that's the way to do it. That's the only way to do it. You know what I mean? And there's still a lot of people in this day and age who are under that impression, under that like perception that that's the only way to do it. So it comes back to vision, I guess. Environment as well. Like the content you consume. Like I watch a lot of like School of Hard Knocks and Diary of a CEO, Chris Williamson, and like these people who are kind of like philosophers, but they also talk about the reality of social media being what it is. You know what I mean?
I think this is just vision. Like,
But it's also vision, yeah. It's also vision.
You set the goal and you have something to fight for.
Exactly. And everyone's vision is different, and everyone's blueprint is different. You know what I mean? But to try to convince someone of your vision essentially is really just a lost cause. You know what I mean? It really comes down to it, because if your vision is not into fruition, like if your vision is not tangible, if you can't put your hands on your vision or see your vision, or you know what I mean, like it's not there, it's just an idea. And ideas come and go like that. You know what I mean? So if you're introducing this idea, again, a big idea, to a small mind, it's the best way to kill it. You know what I mean? And especially if it's not something that's fully formed yet, you can really believe it. You can really, you know, adamantly just be about it. If it's someone you love or care for immensely, and they have a disdain towards it, or a negative connotation towards it, or whatever, right? They speak on it negatively, or they shut your dream down, or they shut down your initiative, or your drive, whatever it is. It might not crush you in the moment, but it plants a seed of what if. It plants a seed of, is it gonna work? I did come up with like however many ideas, yada yada yada, right? And you start manifesting that idea. So, and you don't have anything to show for it. You don't have the evidence already built. So that's why it's so important to like build that evidence. You know? Analyze it further down the road. Use what you have and see how you can make it better and align closer to that vision. You know what I mean? But like to immediately just try to create a fully fleshed out product that's exactly what you want it to be. Your two outcomes with that perception of like it needs to be this way, right? It needs to be perfect. It needs to be just this way. It needs to be this amount of views, this amount of likes. I need to get this many subscribers, yada yada, right? When you set these astronomical goal marks, which is not to say that they're not attainable, but for your current situation, they're astronomical because you have no experience building it. You You have no connections. You have nothing. You have nothing, right? So whenever you set these standards for yourself, the only two outcomes are one, you do it, and you complete it, and you amount to exactly what you thought. Which the chances that you do that on the first try or the first attempt or whatever are so astronomically low. It's really not possible. Yes, there's outliers, but like it's very slim. Okay, and even if you do accomplish it, that's the base level. That's what you were expecting. That's what you had in your mind going into it. Yeah. And if you don't amount to what you thought you would, if you don't complete what you thought you would, then you're going to be let down. You see what I'm saying? When you set your standards so high, you are bound for failure because best case scenario, it is expectation. Worst case scenario, it's a very severe letdown. You know what I mean? So to not have those expectations and not have that, just expectations in general, you know what I mean? To not allow yourself to get engulfed by analysis paralysis, the only thing that can come from it is a positive because you're not expecting anything from it. You're not expecting anything to come about. So if something does, awesome. And if not, okay, more opportunity to learn, grow from it, whatever. Fuck it, nobody's watching. Let me keep building upon it. Let me keep making my craft better so that whenever people do start watching, I feel confident. I feel confident to have people watching, to have a fan base, to have, you know what I mean, whatever. So to set your expectations extremely low is the best way to do it. You know what I mean? Because the only way you can go from there is up.
I feel like for every video we should just have a
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we for each of these videos.
You feel like what?
I feel like for each of these videos it just goes on like rants.
Yeah.